The void of space stretched endlessly, a canvas of infinite darkness punctuated by distant starlight. Within this cosmic expanse, the Zarklex diplomatic vessel Luminous Envoy moved with calculated precision, its crystal lattice hull reflecting pinpricks of distant suns. Ambassador Krulnax adjusted the neural interface that connected directly to the ship's navigation systems, reviewing centuries of accumulated data about their destination. Earth, a planet marked in galactic archives as a curiosity, a developing species barely beyond its own planetary atmosphere, technologically primitive and politically fractured. The Galactic Conquests had long observed humanity with a mixture of academic interest and mild condescension. Countless species had followed similar developmental paths: initial technological growth, followed by periods of internal conflict, eventually culminating in a gradual integration into the broader galactic community. Krulnax had spent 3 standard decades preparing for this mission. The diplomatic protocols were meticulously crafted, designed to introduce humanity to a broader universe with minimal cultural shock. Previous reconnaissance reports suggested a species still wrestling with planetary challenges, climate instability, political divisions, limited space exploration capabilities. The standard approach would be a carefully managed first contact, followed by a gentle invitation to join the Galactic Conquests as a protectorate. The ship's massive databanks contained extensive research. Humanity's history was a fascinating study of contradictions. A species that could develop sophisticated communication networks and computational systems while simultaneously engaging in localized conflicts. Their technological progress was erratic. Moments of brilliant innovation followed by periods of seemingly self-destructive behavior. Holographic displays flickered around Krulnax, showing detailed planetary scans. Urban centers sprawled across continental landscapes, intricate networks of infrastructure revealing a complexity that defied initial assessments. Satellite networks encircled the planet, more extensive than previous reports had suggested. Something felt different. Junior analyst Sren Tak approached, mandibles clicking nervously. Ambassador, our long-range scanners are detecting unusual activity in the Sol system's outer regions. The communication and defense satellite configurations do not match our existing models. Krulnax studied the data streams. The satellite network was far more sophisticated than expected. Quantum communication nodes, advanced tracking systems, and defensive platforms that suggested a level of technological integration far beyond the initial reports. It was as if humanity had been quietly developing capabilities that had gone unnoticed by galactic observers. Prepare initial contact protocols, Krulnax instructed, but maintain maximum sensor discretion. Something feels different about this approach. The ship's artificial environment hummed softly, a technological marvel that had remained unchanged for generations. Zarklex vessels were the pinnacle of diplomatic technology, adaptive, nearly invisible, capable of managing complex first contact scenarios with minimal risk. They had introduced hundreds of developing species to the galactic community, each encounter meticulously managed and controlled. Sren Tak continued analyzing the incoming data. Ambassador, I'm detecting multiple artificial structures beyond our expected scanning range. They don't match any known human space exploration technologies. These appear to be defensive platforms. Krulnax's neural implants processed the information, cross-referencing with extensive diplomatic archives. Something was fundamentally different about this approach. The human satellite network suggested a level of strategic thinking that contradicted every previous assessment. The Luminous Envoy continued its approach, closing the distance to Earth. Proximity sensors began active scanning, searching for the most appropriate communication frequencies. Standard protocols dictated a gentle, non-threatening introduction, a carefully worded message of peaceful exploration and potential collaboration. None of the ship's sophisticated systems could detect the true nature of what awaited them. Humanity had been watching. Humanity had been preparing. And humanity was nothing like anyone had expected. The first indication of trouble came not with a sound, but with absolute silence. Space around the luminous envoy seemed to ripple, a subtle distortion that defied the laws of conventional physics. Zrentok's sensor arrays flickered, then stabilized, revealing something impossible. Ships materialized. Not emerged. Not approached. Materialized. They were unlike any vessel in the galactic archives, sleek geometric forms that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their surfaces a complex matrix of adaptive materials that shifted and realigned with each microscopic movement. No exhaust. No conventional propulsion signatures. Just pure, calculated presence. Admiral Elena Rodriguez studied the incoming alien vessel from the command deck of the TS at Horizon, humanity's most advanced deep space command platform. Her team represented the culmination of decades of covert preparation. Scientists, strategists, and military personnel who had dedicated their lives to a singular mission, ensuring humanity's survival and autonomy in a potentially hostile universe. "Confirm sensor lock," she commanded, her voice steady. A chorus of confirmations followed from her diverse team. Analysts from every continent, representing a global defense initiative that had been decades in the making. The room hummed with quiet intensity, each station a node of carefully managed technological prowess. The alien vessel's approach triggered a multi-layered defense protocol developed through years of speculation, scientific modeling, and strategic simulations. Humanity had long anticipated first contact, not as a moment of wonder, but as a potential threat to be managed with clinical precision. Captain Marcus Chen, head of quantum communications, worked his holographic interface with practiced efficiency. "Energy signatures are consistent with our predictive models," he reported. "Alien vessel shows no immediate aggressive capabilities, but potential for rapid technological adaptation." Zrentok's mandibles clicked in increasing agitation. The human defensive formation defied every known tactical doctrine. Each vessel moved with a fluidity that suggested more than simple mechanical control. They seemed to breathe, to anticipate, to exist as living mathematical equations. "Ambassador," Zrentok transmitted, "our defensive protocols are not registering standard engagement parameters. The human vessels, they're reading our potential movement vectors before we decide them." On the Horizon's bridge, a real-time holographic projection mapped potential interaction scenarios. Hundreds of thousands of computational threads processed every possible alien response, generating counter-strategies faster than the aliens could comprehend. This was not just defense. This was a comprehensive predictive engagement system. Admiral Rodriguez studied the alien vessel with clinical detachment. Years of preparation had conditioned her team to view potential first contact as a complex strategic challenge. Diplomatic protocols were secondary to planetary security. "Establish communication channel," she instructed. "Standard wideband quantum encryption." The communication system was a marvel of human innovation. Multiple redundant channels, adaptive encryption that could rewrite its own communication protocols in microseconds, quantum-entangled backup systems that could maintain communication even if primary systems were compromised. Zrentok watched in growing unease as a communication request formed. It was not a request. It was a precise, calculated intervention. "Unidentified vessel." The transmission began. "You have entered protected space. Identify your purpose and intentions with complete transparency. Partial or manipulated information will result in immediate defensive action." The language was clinical, professional, but underneath ran an unmistakable current of absolute certainty. The humans were not asking. They were informing. Inside the luminous envoy, Ambassador Krelmax realized something fundamental had changed. This was not a first contact scenario. This was a carefully managed intervention by a species that had been preparing for this moment far longer than anyone in the galactic community had suspected. Humanity was not waiting to be discovered. They had been watching, waiting, preparing, and they were ready for anything. The communication channel opened like a surgical incision, precise, calculated, without emotion. Ambassador Krelmax began the standard first contact protocol, a carefully choreographed speech developed over millennia of galactic diplomacy. Words flowed through sophisticated translation matrices designed to convey nuanced meaning across species and cultures. Dr. Aria Nakamura led the human analysis team, her fingers dancing across a holographic interface that seemed to anticipate her thoughts. Beside her, a diverse group of specialists from disciplines ranging from xenolinguistics to advanced quantum physics watched the alien transmission with clinical interest. "Deconstruction protocol initiated," she murmured, more to herself than to her colleagues. The alien transmission broke down into component parts faster than its originators could comprehend. Not just translated, but dissected. Every linguistic pattern, every molecular vibration of the communication signal became a data point. The human team wasn't just listening. They were performing a comprehensive anatomical examination of the communication itself. "Linguistic variants detected," reported Dr. Samuel Okoye, a xenolinguistics expert. "Their communication structure suggests a hierarchical information transfer system, fundamentally different from our initial predictive models." Krelnax continued the diplomatic speech, unaware that each word was being analyzed at a level of depth that went far beyond simple translation. The human team was mapping communication patterns, cultural inference points, and potential hidden meanings with a precision that would have been considered impossible by galactic standards. On a secondary display, a real-time linguistic breakdown appeared. Not just a translation, but a comprehensive analysis of potential meaning, cultural context, and informational density. Each alien word was transformed into a three-dimensional information matrix, revealing layers of communication that the Zarklex had never imagined possible. "Interesting," Dr. Nakamura muttered, zooming into a particular linguistic construct. "Their communication includes tertiary information layers, unintentional data transmission through structural linguistic patterns." The Zarklex communication protocol was designed to be the pinnacle of diplomatic interaction. Developed over thousands of years, it was supposed to be impossible to fully decode without specialized training. Yet here were humans, dismantling it in real time, revealing communication layers that even the most advanced Zarklex linguists had never recognized in their own language. Zrentok, the junior analyst, began to feel a growing sense of unease. The human response was not just analytical. It was almost predatory in its comprehensive approach to information gathering. "Ambassador," Zrentok transmitted privately, "they're not just listening. They're studying us." The human analysis continued. Quantum computers processed linguistic data at speeds that defied conventional computational limits. Machine learning algorithms cross-referenced the alien communication with vast databases of human knowledge, searching for patterns, potential meanings, underlying intentions. Dr. Okoye pointed to a complex linguistic pattern. "See how their communication structure reveals potential technological and social hierarchies. They're not just hearing our words. They're reconstructing our entire social framework." Krelnax reached a critical point in the diplomatic speech, a section designed to convey the Galactic Concordance's benevolent intentions. It was a moment that had worked perfectly in hundreds of previous first contact scenarios. The human team was 3 steps ahead. "Predictive linguistic model suggests potential manipulative intent," Dr. Nakamura announced. Her tone was not accusatory. It was purely observational, as if discussing a fascinating scientific specimen. The luminous and voice-sophisticated communication systems began to feel almost primitive. Where they saw a carefully crafted diplomatic transmission, the humans saw a complex information ecosystem to be mapped, understood, and potentially neutralized. Zrentok realized something fundamental. Humanity was not preparing to receive information. They were preparing to comprehensively understand it. And they were extraordinarily good at it. The tactical display aboard the Horizon transformed into a living, breathing mathematical equation. Commander Jake Rodriguez, no relation to Admiral Elena Rodriguez, led the Advanced Interceptor Squadron, a team selected from the most elite pilots across global defense programs. Their fighters were nothing like conventional aerospace vehicles. Each craft represented a quantum leap in aerospace engineering, adaptive systems that could reconfigure molecular structures in milliseconds. Constructed from metamaterials that defied traditional understanding of physics, the ships moved less like machines and more like living mathematical concepts. Squadron Alpha, initiate synchronization protocol, Commander Rodriguez called out. His voice was calm, almost clinical. The fighters began a movement that defied conventional tactical understanding. They didn't just maneuver. They predicted. Each vector, each potential trajectory was calculated not just moments in advance, but across multiple potential future scenarios. Zrentok watched in growing horror from the luminous Envoy's observation deck. The human defensive formation was unlike anything in the Galactic Archives. Traditional alien defensive strategies involved predetermined patterns, predictable response mechanisms. These human fighters were something else entirely. Each fighter seemed to communicate instantaneously, sharing computational data faster than light could travel. They moved as a single organism, yet maintained individual tactical autonomy. Mathematical probability became a living, breathing tactical language. Dr. Elena Chen, the lead computational strategist, monitored the squadron's movements from a secondary command center. Her team represented a global collaborative effort, specialists from research centers across continents working in perfect synchronization. Predictive modeling at 99.8% accuracy, she reported. Her tone suggested this was a mild, almost routine observation. The fighters began what could only be described as a choreographed performance of tactical brilliance. They didn't just respond to potential alien threats. They anticipated them, creating defensive scenarios that existed simultaneously across multiple potential future timelines. Commander Rodriguez's squadron demonstrated something profound. Humanity had transformed warfare from a reactive process to a predictive art form. Each movement was a complex algorithm, each adjustment a nuanced mathematical statement about potential conflict resolution. Zrentok's neural interfaces struggled to process the human tactical approach. The Zarklek's defensive systems, considered the most advanced in the known galaxy, found themselves perpetually one step behind. It was like watching a grandmaster chess player demolish an opponent who hadn't even realized the game had begun. Quantum synchronization complete, reported Lieutenant Aisha Okonkwo, her fingers dancing across adaptive interface systems, all squadron units operating at maximum collaborative efficiency. The fighters moved through space like liquid mathematics. They didn't just defend. They redefined the very concept of defensive strategy. Each movement was a statement, each formation a complex linguistic expression of technological capability. On the luminous Envoy's bridge, Ambassador Krulnax watched the tactical display with growing comprehension. This was not just a military demonstration. This was a comprehensive statement about human potential. The squadron's movements suggested something far more profound than mere tactical superiority. They revealed a species that had transformed collaborative thinking into a form of living technology. Each pilot was both an individual and part of a greater computational organism. Dr. Chen's voice cut through the tactical communication channels. Predictive modeling suggests zero probability of successful alien intervention. Defensive formations are optimal. Commander Rodriguez acknowledged with a simple, understood. The human fighters continued their impossible dance, each movement a complex mathematical poem written across the canvas of space. They were not just defending. They were demonstrating. Humanity was here. Humanity was ready. And humanity would not be underestimated. The Global Defense Headquarters was a marvel of architectural and technological integration. Located deep beneath the Andes Mountains, the facility represented the pinnacle of human collaborative engineering. Multiple levels of quantum-shielded infrastructure housed technologies that would have seemed like pure science fiction mere decades ago. Dr. Samira Khan, Chief of Advanced Research, walked through a holographic display that mapped humanity's technological developments. Each projection represented years of coordinated global research, a testament to human ability to unite across cultural and geographical boundaries. Adaptive camouflage systems are now at 99.7% molecular reconfiguration efficiency, she explained to a team of international researchers. The hologram shifted, showing materials that could literally change their molecular structure in milliseconds. The display revealed technologies that defied conventional understanding. Quantum communication networks that could transmit information faster than light. Adaptive materials that could restructure themselves in response to environmental challenges. Energy systems that extracted power from quantum vacuum fluctuations. Ambassador Krulmax watched the transmission in growing disbelief. These were not theoretical concepts. These were fully developed operational technologies that rewrote the fundamental understanding of scientific possibility. Dr. Khan continued her presentation. Our latest adaptive camouflage can rewrite molecular structures to match any environmental condition. Thermal signatures, light refraction, electromagnetic interference, all can be manipulated at the atomic level. The implications were staggering. It wasn't just about military application. These technologies represented a fundamental reimagining of human interaction with the physical world. Zrentok's neural interfaces struggled to process the information. The human technological leap defied every known evolutionary trajectory in the galactic archives. Most species develop technologies incrementally, with centuries between major breakthroughs. Humanity seemed to be advancing on multiple fronts simultaneously. A secondary display showed quantum communication networks that could maintain coherence across impossible distances, entangled communication systems that could transmit information instantaneously, bypassing traditional limitations of space and time. Quantum resilience protocol at maximum efficiency, reported Dr. Marcus Liu, head of communication technologies. His team represented a global network of researchers who had been working in secret for decades. The technological display was more than a demonstration of capability. It was a comprehensive statement about human potential. Each breakthrough suggested not just scientific advancement, but a fundamental reimagining of technological possibility. Adaptive materials could now change their entire molecular structure in response to environmental conditions. Energy systems extracted power from quantum vacuum fluctuations. Communication networks operated beyond the traditional limitations of physical infrastructure. Ambassador Krulmax realized something profound. This was not a developing species waiting to be guided. This was a civilization that had been preparing, developing, and advancing with a speed and complexity that defied all previous galactic observations. Dr. Khan's final demonstration was perhaps the most shocking. A small device demonstrated the ability to manipulate quantum states, creating localized areas where traditional physical laws seemed to become suggestions rather than absolute rules. Quantum state manipulation is now at preliminary operational status, she announced, as if discussing a routine technological update. Zrentok transmitted a private communication to the ship's primary communication array. The message was simple but carried profound implications. Everything we know is incorrect. The human technological frontier was not just advanced. It was revolutionary. Each breakthrough suggested not just scientific capability, but a fundamental reimagining of what was possible. Humanity had not been waiting to be discovered. Humanity had been preparing, developing, advancing. And they were just getting started. The global archives were a testament to human transformation. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, chief historian at the United Earth Historical Research Center, studied the holographic projections that mapped humanity's extraordinary journey. Each timeline revealed a species defined by its capacity to adapt, overcome, and reimagine itself in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. Adaptation is our defining characteristic, she often told her research teams. The historical data proved her point with remarkable clarity. Less than 2 centuries ago, humanity had been on the brink of multiple global catastrophes: climate disruption, resource conflicts, technological disparities, challenges that could have easily led to species-wide collapse. Instead, humanity had done something unprecedented. They had transformed these challenges into opportunities for global cooperation and technological innovation. The first breakthrough came with the Global Collaborative Research Initiative of 2073. Nations that had previously been bitter rivals began sharing scientific research, technological developments, and resource management strategies. What began as a survival mechanism evolved into a fundamental reimagining of human potential. Zrentok studied the intercepted historical records with increasing fascination. Most galactic species developed through linear progression. Humanity seemed to advance through radical transformation. The climate crisis had been a turning point. Instead of succumbing to environmental challenges, humans developed adaptive technologies that fundamentally changed their relationship with their planet. Atmospheric restoration systems, sustainable energy networks, agricultural technologies that could transform desert regions into productive landscapes. Each challenge became an opportunity for innovation. Dr. Rodriguez's historical display showed something even more remarkable. The human ability to unite transcended traditional barriers of nationality, ethnicity, and cultural differences. Global challenges had forced a level of cooperation that seemed impossible just decades earlier. Watch the transformation, she would tell her students. Not the conflict, the response to the conflict. The alien observers found themselves studying a species that defied conventional evolutionary models. Humanity didn't just survive. They evolved. Rapidly. Comprehensively. With a speed that suggested something almost unprecedented in galactic observation. Technological development accelerated at an exponential rate. Quantum computing, advanced materials science, biotechnology. Each field developed not in isolation, but through unprecedented global collaboration. Research centers across continents worked as a single integrated network. Zrentok's historical analysis revealed a profound truth. Humanity's greatest strength was not any single technological breakthrough. It was their ability to transform challenges into opportunities for collective growth. The global education reformation of 2089 represented another critical moment. Education systems were redesigned to prioritize collaborative problem-solving, adaptive thinking, and global perspective. No longer were students confined to traditional disciplinary boundaries. Interdisciplinary thinking became the new standard. We are not defined by our limitations, Dr. Rodriguez would explain, pointing to historical projections. We are defined by our capacity to reimagine those limitations. Intercepted communications revealed a species that had transformed conflict resolution into a collaborative art form. Diplomatic strategies emphasized mutual understanding, shared problem-solving, and collective advancement. The alien observers began to understand something profound. Humanity was not a species waiting to be guided or controlled. They were a civilization in constant, rapid transformation. Economic systems had been redesigned to prioritize collective advancement over individual accumulation. Technological developments were shared across global networks. Research became a collaborative endeavor, not a competitive one. Zrentok transmitted a comprehensive report back to the Zarklek Central Command. The message was clear. Everything they understood about developmental species needed comprehensive reevaluation. Humanity had not just survived their challenges. They had transformed them into opportunities for collective advancement. And they were just beginning to understand their own potential. The bridge of the luminous envoy grew silent. Ambassador Krelnax understood now that this was not a diplomatic mission. This was a comprehensive reevaluation of everything the Zarkleks believed they knew about developing species. Zrentok's neural interfaces processed the accumulated data with increasing complexity. Each piece of intercepted human communication, each technological demonstration, each historical record rewrote their understanding of potential galactic civilizations. Prepare withdrawal protocols, Krelnax transmitted to the ship systems. The words felt hollow. Withdrawal suggested an option of return, but nothing about this encounter suggested any future diplomatic possibilities would be on the Zarklex's terms. Admiral Elena Rodriguez watched the alien vessel from the Horizon's command deck. Her team had prepared for countless potential first contact scenarios. This one played out exactly as their most comprehensive simulations had predicted. "Maintain observation," she instructed. Her voice carried no triumph, no anger, just a clinical assessment of a strategic interaction. The human response was unprecedented in galactic diplomatic history. They had not responded with aggression. They had responded with a comprehensive demonstration of capability. A clear, unequivocal statement. "We are prepared. We are advanced. We will engage on our terms." Zrentok's final analysis revealed something profound. Humanity was not seeking approval or integration into existing galactic structures. They were preparing to define their own place in the cosmic ecosystem. Communication channels remained open, but the nature of the interaction had fundamentally changed. Where the Zarklex had expected to guide, they found themselves being evaluated, studied, assessed. The diplomatic mission transformed into something entirely unexpected. What was supposed to be a routine introduction had become a comprehensive examination of alien capabilities, with humanity as the examiner. "Our predictive models were completely incorrect," Zrentok transmitted to Ambassador Krelnax. The statement was more than an observation. It was a fundamental admission of systemic miscalculation. Human communication remained precise, professional, but underneath ran an unmistakable current of absolute certainty. They were not requesting integration. They were informing the galaxy of their existence. The luminous Envoy's sophisticated systems began to feel almost primitive compared to the human technological ecosystem. Where they saw a diplomatic encounter, humans saw a complex strategic interaction to be managed with clinical precision. Ambassador Krelnax reviewed the accumulated data, decades of diplomatic training, centuries of galactic interaction protocols. All seemed suddenly inadequate. Humanity had not just developed technologies. They had reimagined the entire concept of technological and diplomatic engagement. "Prepare comprehensive report," Krelnax instructed the ship's systems. "Priority classification. Complete strategic revaluation required." The human response continued to defy every expected diplomatic scenario. No aggression, no fear, just a comprehensive, calculated demonstration of capability and intent. Zrentok's final transmission to the ship's central command carried a message that would reshape galactic diplomatic understanding. Humanity is not a species to be managed. They are a civilization preparing to be recognized. Admiral Rodriguez's final communication was simple, precise, unequivocal. "We appreciate the invitation." The transmission read, "We'll communicate on our terms." The luminous envoy began its withdrawal sequence. But this was not a retreat. This was a fundamental recalibration of understanding. Humanity had entered the galactic stage, not as a new species to be guided, but as a civilization ready to define its own path. The galactic communication network erupted with unprecedented data transmissions. News of the human encounter spread faster than light, carried through quantum communication channels that connected thousands of advanced civilizations. At the Galactic Council Nexus, located in the neutron star system of Vex Prime, representatives from hundreds of species gathered to process the incoming information. The massive holographic displays showed fragments of the human encounter, tactical demonstrations, technological capabilities, strategic communications. Councillor Zarnex of the Quantum Diplomatic Corps studied the data with growing comprehension. "This changes everything," she transmitted to the Primary Advisory Board. Her translation matrix carried undertones of both concern and reluctant admiration. The human encounter was not just a first contact scenario. It was a comprehensive restructuring of galactic understanding about developing species. Research archives began immediate comprehensive analysis, where previous observations had categorized humanity as a developing civilization. The new data suggested something far more profound. Humanity was not a species waiting to be integrated. They were a civilization preparing to define their own cosmic trajectory. Dr. Liana Sorensen, lead researcher at the United Earth Extraterrestrial Interaction Research Center, monitored the global communication networks. Her team had spent decades preparing potential first contact scenarios. This encounter played out with remarkable precision to their most comprehensive simulations. Validation of preparedness protocols, she noted in her preliminary report. The words carried the weight of decades of collaborative research. Across the galaxy, diplomatic and research teams began comprehensive revaluations. The human encounter challenged fundamental assumptions about species development, technological progression, and galactic integration. The Zarklex Communication Archive began processing the encounter data. Each transmission, each tactical demonstration, each technological insight was carefully analyzed. What emerged was a profile of a species that defied conventional understanding. Humanity had not just developed technologies. They had reimagined the entire concept of technological and social progression. Diplomatic strategists noted something unprecedented. The humans had not sought approval or integration. They had presented themselves as a fully formed civilization, ready to engage on their own terms. Global research centers across Earth continued their work, seemingly unaffected by the momentous encounter. This, perhaps, was the most shocking element. The humans treated the galactic encounter as a routine strategic interaction. The quantum diplomatic cores generated multiple predictive models. Each scenario suggested the same fundamental conclusion. Humanity was not a species to be managed. They were a civilization preparing to be recognized. Ambassador Krulmax's comprehensive report became the most analyzed document in recent galactic history. It painted a picture of a species that had transformed every challenge into an opportunity for collective advancement. Research teams noted critical observations: unprecedented global collaboration, rapid technological development, adaptive problem-solving capabilities, comprehensive strategic thinking. The galactic communication networks continued to process the encounter. Each analysis revealed new layers of complexity about human potential. Dr. Elena Rodriguez presented a final assessment to the United Earth Global Strategy Council. "We are not seeking integration," she explained. "We are preparing for interaction." The message was clear. Humanity would engage with the galactic community on their own terms. Zrentak's final transmission to the Zarklex Central Command carried a message that would reshape diplomatic understanding. Humanity is not a species to be underestimated. They are a civilization ready to define its own path. As the luminous envoy completed its withdrawal, the galaxy watched and waited. Something fundamental had changed. The cosmic understanding of potential had been comprehensively rewritten. Humanity had arrived, not as a new species to be guided, but as a civilization ready to shape its own destiny.